Alright guys, welcome back to Game and Compute. We are talking about these digital marketing topics. We talked about generally how to look at the skills you already have to offer skills to make money, or services, offer your services to make money. That's generally how it looks to get into a hustle. Now you don't have to have like a digital presence necessarily. These days it helps. It helps. It helps to refer people to something that you have that you can show. You don't have to have anything. So before we were talking about certain types of services like offering like fitness training or finance, motivation or whatever you want to call it, budgeting, education, tutoring, nutritional information, life coach type of, self-help, self-development, types of skills, things like landscaping, laundry services, food prep, meal prep services. I mean, you could probably even start your own transportation service. I don't know if you need some kind of like insurance on it or what, but you could probably do something like that. The reason why I say that is because, I follow a lot of content about Amish people. I'm not saying that their cultures are all like every single Amish, subgroup of people is like in a perfect culture. I mean, I don't really have that romantic view of any group of people. So I'm not trying to like idolize them and think like, oh, their lives are perfect. But the thing I do like about them is that they don't have this mainstream idea of rack up debt for education to work. Like they go to school till the 8th grade, learn a trade. And I have heard of Amish families that weren't very wealthy or self-sufficient and were struggling financially and things. So I know that exists. I've heard of there's a YouTuber named Eli Yoder who talks a lot about his upbringing in the old order Amish. I don't remember. I think he was from Kenton, Ohio, in an old order Amish community, and he talks about wearing hand-me-downs, where the clothes were handed down from other family members to him, and he had maybe like one pair of pants or like a very low amount of like clothing, like they were in poverty, unfortunately they had the breadwinner father, or the husband of the mother, had an issue where he couldn't really be working all the time, and the community wasn't very supportive of him, and he wasn't really getting help, and they didn't really offer help, and so they kind of shunned him. And what I did find out about a lot of Amish communities, I don't know about all of them, but when you are shunned in some of those communities, you also, like, the people from your Amish community aren't allowed to maybe like shop at your store or buy your furniture or get your, if you make pies or for a living, or if you provide like handyman services or construction and things like that, people from your community aren't allowed to shop from you. In some communities, that's the rule. And so I can imagine if someone's always considered to be breaking the rules and they're always shunned, that's going to affect their business. And so their business models aren't like perfect, but I do like to study them just because they're kind of like a different, this isn't a whole episode about the Amish, but, I like to see that people don't have to go through 4 years, 8 years, 10 years of school, rack up $200,000, $500,000 worth of debt, to barely be making it, for quite a long time because they have so much debt. And finally, by the time they're like 45, they're like, oh, look, I can finally like get a house or whatever. It's like they've kind of got a method that works if you're part of the community. I don't know. I guess there are people who do homesteading and things like that that I've seen who can kind of sustain themselves as well. But I'm from the city, so a lot of the self-sustaining lifestyles kind of really intrigue me, because in the city you are very much reliant on the city. Like, you only get so much land. I don't know if you could really grow enough food in most people's yards to sustain their whole family unless you had chickens, goats. And how many of those would you have to be raising if you had a family of like four in LA? I don't really know. Like, you could supplement, but I don't think you could really grow enough of things unless you're growing something that you're selling and it's making a lot of money. I mean, there's opportunities for that out here because some things are more legal than they are in other places. But um, I don't really know. Like, I think I do like the model where people learn trades and they have a method of marketing where they can not even have to use technology technically themselves. Like, they're not online, actively online. They're either word of mouth, the community might be big enough and need their services enough, or they outsource, the work gets outsourced to them. Maybe I've heard about things like that in a lot of the RVs that are made in Indiana. I guess the Amish in Indiana have a lot of work that they do with the RVs. So within the U.S., I think I've heard this, but I don't know how accurate it is that they that a lot of the RVs in the U.S. are made out of Amish companies out of the U.S. In Indiana. I'm not. I think Shipshewana. I don't remember. Honestly, I'm not 100% on that. Like, as far as my knowledge, but yeah, I mean, the reason why I'm mentioning it is because, when we talk about digital marketing, a lot of times people think about, okay, like, I have to be online, I have to have a website, I have to build up like this YouTube channel that has like 1 million subscribers and like just to sell, services to like cut people's lawns or whatever. It's like, no, you can do it without that. You just have to kind of know a model that works where you're not gonna be so reliant on YouTube. I mean, YouTube is so powerful. YouTube shorts are becoming more powerful as people's attention spans are getting more and more interested in like shorter form content. There's this guy that does free landscaping for people who maybe the city says needs it, or I guess he just finds people who need it. There are a few people on YouTube who are, you can watch them just landscape. Sometimes they talk, or they have an episode where there's no talking, and it's just like an hour or so of somebody cutting lawns, weeding. You see the people with those pressure washers, and they're like deep cleaning the driveways and getting between all the cracks of these old bricks and like getting all the old roots out and like putting stuff back in order. There are places where there's so much overgrown, grass and weeds and stuff that some places you wouldn't even know there was a driveway or a sidewalk there because it's been overgrown for like years. Or like the side of people's houses aren't even, like, you can't see that there's a gate behind all these bushes and trees and stuff. And they get all their equipment in a truck and they drive up and they just start working for free, and they record these videos where they show themselves doing that. I'm pretty sure they're monetized, but they're not getting paid to do those services. But people watch it. People like me watch it. I like relaxing content like that. I find it relaxing to watch. And I'm guessing if somebody knew how to landscape and they were charging for the services, they could probably give small tips to people. My mom does these gardening videos. She's really good with, my mom and dad are really into like gardening. They're more so into farming, but they do some pretty heavy gardening, as much as Los Angeles will allow, with a yard. But they've built up their garden pretty strong, and they record content about it. And there are plenty of old women and old people on there, and people of all ages that watch their content and see them kind of growing things. People want to be a little more self-sufficient, even if you're in a city. You know, learning how to grow your own food, microgreens, you know, sprouting seedlings, you know, all kinds of different types of melons and corns and things from Africa that they have. People like that content. I mean, I don't know how good their YouTube stuff is doing. I don't really watch it like that too much, but it's like, it's valuable. It's valuable content, and like, they don't sell their stuff. They don't sell anything that they grow. They just grow it and record about it for fun. And if they wanted to sell stuff, I mean, they've had people ask them for specific types of seeds or specific types of like a seedling or like a specific, you know, something that they could graft, you know, onto some other plant or something. You know, they've shipped out stuff to people, but it's been for free. So, I know they're, you know, YouTube and all that is powerful, but it's not the only way. Sometimes it can be more time consuming than is necessary, and it can be more, it can be hard for people to kind of get into the rhythm of it and get noticed. Some niches are very saturated. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying there are other ways. And that's why I was mentioning the Amish. It's like, well, they're not technically on YouTube, most of them. They're not technically on TikTok or Instagram. They're usually not having a landing page or any kind of squeeze page or any kind of LinkedIn type of situation where people can even like find them organically, even if they tried. So they have a method of getting their services and products to people with paper and pencil or typed out printed content somehow, or phone calls, or, you know, word of mouth. I mean, I've known of people that I've heard of that are Amish that have other people do the websites for them. They're not in charge of the website, but the Amish people do the labor and all that kind of stuff, and they're the ones with the skills because they've been doing them since they were in 8th grade. And so, you know, it's very interesting. And a lot of people, why I want to mention that is because a lot of us have hobbies and things that we've been doing for our whole lives. And, you know, when people want to make money, they're like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And it's like, do what you know how to do. You know, somebody out there finds it interesting and wants to know how to do it. And at the beginning of the year, people want to know how to do it. And so you need to find what's best for your, you know, product or service and try to promote it in the way that people will come across it. Like I said, if you're doing certain types of things, it's probably not going to convert very well in other ways. Like, for example, if I'm like really skilled at certain things and if I'm really skilled at certain things and I move the car a little. And bear with me a bit. Sorry guys, I got distracted by someone. I try to record outside so that I don't get interrupted, but still, sometimes it cannot be helped. And I've kind of lost my train of thought. But I guess what I was saying is that sometimes you can have skills and it doesn't take a degree. Now, some things, of course, you'd want someone with a degree. But other things, it's like you just want someone who knows much more than you do. If you're the one who's going to buy something from someone or engage with content for free from someone even, you want someone who knows what they're talking about, who knows more than you, who's gone steps past what you've done, right? You don't want someone who has never tried any of it and they're just talking about it or faking, photoshopped Shopify store results or whatever it may be. You want someone who can prove that they did it, who has reviews of people who said that they've done well. You want someone who has some kind of experience that you don't have where you can learn from them. And so, it does help to use what you already have experience with, because experience is a type of education. People might not see it that way, but it is. Experience is pretty much almost sometimes better than education. I'm not saying that learning theory is bad, but say, for example, if you needed a therapist, right? Would you rather have a therapist that learned about all the theories but never practiced therapy? You probably don't want that. You probably don't want a therapist that never practices. You probably don't want a therapist that doesn't maybe even have firsthand knowledge of what it's like to have mental health issues or knows anybody with mental health issues. If they're kind of in a bubble of their own, the credibility might not be there for you, depending on what we're talking about. And so sometimes it can be hard to engage in the service that somebody's providing if you don't feel like they kind of get you or understand where you're coming from or understand your struggles. People who have been, who do landscaping for fun in their own house. People who do laundry all the time because they do laundry all the time because they have to. People who clean often, who know different remedies to get certain stuff out of curtains or carpets or off of wood floors, or know the best practices for cleaning this with a certain type of detergent versus using this other thing that's going to completely ruin your couch. You want to know someone who knows those things, even if they're doing it for fun. You want them to have the skills, right? Or you can just wing it and pay someone who's never done it before and see if they do good and hope that they don't mess up your stuff if they're kind of studying along the way, working and learning as they go. That's fine too. But usually you want the professional. You want the person who could at least show you on YouTube that they know what they're doing. You want the person who could at least show you on LinkedIn that they've got all this experience and these degrees. You want the person who can show you just by talking about it, podcasting, that they kind of know what they're talking about. They've been trained. They've practiced this. They have experience. You don't really want someone who doesn't really know what they're doing or saying. And especially if you're paying a lot of money, you want to know from someone who is skilled, right? So you have to take that into consideration. If you're trying to get customers, that's what customers are going to be looking for, right? How do you choose to buy something from someone? Usually you're not just going to choose the most expensive one. Usually you're not going to choose the cheapest one. Just because it's cheap doesn't mean that you want it. Say if you wanted a course on how to grow and keep alive like a difficult plant, like an orchid. You'd want someone who has videos of orchids in different phases and stages and shows how to grow them, keep them alive. Um, and that they live for a long time. You know, you don't want someone with a brown thumb uh, trying to teach you how to grow stuff that they've never successfully grown, right? Makes no sense whatsoever. But what type of online presence or content do you need for promotion of your skills or services or products? You need something, right, that's going to drive people there. Likely something that's not ultra saturated. And if it is, because it might be, but if it is ultra saturated, you want to be good, entertaining in a way that, people want to tune in and get the free stuff too, right? Providing free content is very valuable. Let me give you an example. I like cultural content, as we all have probably gathered by my speech about the Amish. And there's this guy on YouTube called, I don't know his name, but his channel I think is called Navajo Traditional Teachings or something like that. Now, I think it was last night. I didn't know that he had a website, but last night he has a .com. It's like NavajoTradtionalTeachings.com, something like that. He's an old man, and he talks about different types of cultural topics using the indigenous language. He uses certain terminology. He talks about their traditions from a first-hand elder's perspective, passing down knowledge to the next generations. And, I'm not Navajo, but I like the content. And, I found out he has a website, and I looked at the website, and I found out that he sells different types of, like, necklaces, bracelets, some other types of traditional things that I'm not in an understanding of what they actually are, but I'm sure, other people would know. There was something that I think was like a pouch of staff and salt. I don't know specifically what that's for, but it was like a package of, that was like what you could purchase. I don't remember the prices. But he's providing content, cultural content online, and he has an online store. I don't know who makes those, things that he's selling. I don't know if he's reselling them, drop shipping them, if he makes it himself. I really don't understand. I really don't know that. I'm not saying I don't understand. I just don't know it. There's another guy on YouTube that I follow, the Amish Potato. He used to be Amish, now he's not. I wouldn't say that he lives on a homestead. I think maybe at one point they did. I can't remember. But then they moved. But I think they do raise chickens, and they've got like a dog or two, and they know a lot of Amish types of crafts. Like, I think his dad makes belts out of leather. He knows how to work leather, so they make belts and dog collars. They have some seasonings that they sell. I don't know if it's their own brand or I don't know. And he provides content about the Amish community that he grew up in, and some live videos about, I don't know, he's kind of like a born again Christian. And so, in all honesty, that's not my favorite content, but I like that he's like a handyman worker, and um, I think his wife does canning and things like that. So, and he does like different types of stuff with his daughter, his teenage daughter. I think she's homeschooled or some form of like hybrid homeschool or something. And I like watching it. It's fun to watch. Their content's pretty cool, and I would say that I don't even have like a very very similar belief system to them. There's some overlap, but a lot of it's pretty different, and I can still watch their content and just, he didn't always have the online store. Like he almost never had that online store up until pretty recently, and he's shown himself, packaging up and shipping some of the belts that people have purchased. So I know he's making sales, and his store's pretty new, and I've been following his content for a while. He doesn't even post every day or every week. But there are people like that who have content that they post that is valuable, and you can follow their models, of how they do things. They have something that they're providing for free that's valuable to people. This guy goes online and answers people's questions about the Amish. He used to do it pretty often. Now he doesn't do it as often, but he tells people when he's going online, and they can get a perspective from an ex-Amish person. The other guy that I talked about, Navajo guy, talks about the traditions, gives out that information for free, and sells products. I don't even know if any of these guys talk way too much about their products. They don't overdo it. But both of these guys, I found them organically. And I just happened to run across their stores just because I was like, oh, they talk about it one day, or I saw there was an extra link at the bottom of the page, and I went to check out the .com and like, oh, cool, they got a store. Next time I want to buy a belt, I'm probably going to buy a belt from that guy, in all honesty. Now there are certain things where it's like you might not need a lot. Like, how many belts do I need? You know what I mean? Like, I have one good belt now, and it's a leather belt that I got for $20 or $30 from Target, like probably 9 years ago. I don't really think I need another one. It's in perfectly fine condition. I like it more than my Levi's belt. I have a black Levi's belt that I don't even hardly wear. It's like a backup belt to this one, because this one's softer leather, and it's lasted me all this time, and to a point where I don't need another belt. It's nice to have. It's the only belt I have that I like, I'll put it that way. I'd like to have another belt that I actually like, but it's not a necessity. I've had the same belt for a really long time, and the way it's designed, it has like holes, as the designs all the way around it, so it's not necessarily getting worn in the one spot of the one loop that I use the most often. But using YouTube, using Instagram, if you're already posting, and you already have an audience, you're probably not going to be that far from being able to put up a website where people might have an interest, especially if you're already talking about something in a niche that you want to sell within. But it kind of depends, Like, if you're doing landscaping, that's a physical, in-person job. Unless you have people that you outsource the work to all over the U.S. or something, you're not really going to be able to take that job. And, if I'm in LA and I want to landscape and somebody's in New York, I can't help that person. Now, I can provide free content, or I could provide some kind of digital product where people can learn landscaping techniques or something, so I could maybe do like the physical stuff that I do personally in person, and then have some kind of digital product that people could learn and get advice that way, in a lot more detail, like a class or something like that you post, or a course where people learn how to like get greener grass or grow this certain kind of roses, or I don't know, grow spinach. I don't know, whatever it is you're trying to do. But not everybody needs, YouTube. It just helps. So I would recommend it for people if you're trying to get something started fast. Either you're going to need to post a lot of content fast, or use a platform that reaches more people faster with a shorter amount of time. And you can take your videos and post them other places, in different communities like Pinterest, different places like that where there's like groups, Facebook groups. It can be a little bit more complicated, because a lot of these platforms have really been cracking down on people trying to post links. So I wouldn't say that I specifically know with Pinterest and some of these other sites. I know Instagram cracked down on it some. But you can still technically reach out to people, and if they DM you, you can send them the link. But you might have to go out of your way to make a post, and then tell people to DM you and then send them a link to that post. There might need to be some steps in between, because certain platforms don't really want you just like spamming links all over, because everybody started doing it at one point. I think this is way back in the day, but I think I got a lot of or I used to get a lot of traffic towards my YouTube, specific videos like tutorials on how to fix certain stuff on your computer, hardware stuff, by going to people who had a certain problem and going into the comments. Like I think on Yahoo they had like questions or something, and putting my own YouTube link in the comments, as like a fix option. That got a lot of traffic, and just organically it got a lot of traffic anyways, because I was providing content about that. Now if I was interested in fixing those laptops or whatever it was, I probably could have done that. In all honesty, I probably could have fixed those computers, the specific model. That it would have been easier if people wanted to have me fix their stuff. But for me, the process of taking something apart is just, I really hate taking laptops apart and then having to put them back together. It's like, oh my gosh. But yeah, that's probably where I would start. That's probably, for me, I feel like that's one of the best places to start, is to just kind of start at what you can post. I mean, there's nothing wrong with spending time working on your site, working on your socials. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm trying to say is you don't have to spend so long focusing on that when you could have like a more direct line. So thinking outside of just purely being digital, how can you drive traffic, if you don't have to rely only on the digital method? how can you drive that traffic? You're gonna wanna, you're gonna wanna know how to do that. And I hope those are good specific examples. I would say it really depends, like you can have organic traffic where people come to you, just naturally come to you without you really doing anything other than posting and like engaging and growing an audience or community. You can have paid traffic, that can speed up the process. I wouldn't always recommend paying someone on Fiverr, but that's probably the cheapest, quickest way to do it, or one of the cheapest, quickest ways to do it. But you might not like the traffic that they get for you. Say, for example, if you're selling something that's only going to ship in the US, they might drive traffic to all these other countries, and you might be getting a lot of traffic, but you don't sell to those people, or you don't ship to those people, or maybe it's not converting. Maybe they can get it if it's drop shipping. Maybe they can get it quicker and easier because they're closer to China. If you're drop shipping out of China, it's like sometimes it just doesn't work. So you have to be specific. If you're looking for leads, you can buy leads, but are they specific for your area? If you're doing landscaping services and they're sending you, a whole bunch of people who don't live anywhere near you, who they have a list for, it's like you need it to match up for what you're doing. But these are methods that you can go about, getting paid traffic, getting paid leads, outreaching to these people. Getting paid, that's the paid method. I guess another organic method is, trying to engage, like I mentioned, like through Pinterest and that kind of thing. There's already communities out there, and so if you have something to offer, they might be willing to pay for what it is that you have to offer. It just really depends. There's a lot of moving pieces. Outreaching, I think, is probably going to be one of your best bets too, because the thing is about outreach is that you can find prospects, outreach to them. So say, for example, if I were one of these guys that I mentioned, either the Navajo elder or the ex-Amish guy. If I was the ex-Amish guy and I'm selling belts and food seasoning, who would be a prospect for me? Who would I research? I could go on LinkedIn, look for people who do small business of like personal chef, who like, let's say it's Midwest style cooking. Maybe the seasonings fit Midwest style food. And I could reach out to, I think usually, like, you probably can't research. I don't know how long it takes you to research. Like, once you get in the swing of it, it's going to be faster. But I would say typically if you're working for a company and you're doing sales, you're probably going to be reaching out to about 50 people a day on a list of leads who are already there. and you're going to have a sales cadence where you're going to be reaching out to these people. And we'll talk about this more, but we'll talk about it more later in a different episode. But in general, you do want to be organized with it too. But if I were this guy and I wanted, say if I was like, man, the belts are selling really good because people like the homemade stuff, but nobody's buying the seasoning. I don't really even know if that's the case, but say nobody's buying the seasoning. I'm just making this up off the top of my head. I'm not wishing this on this guy or anything, but I need an example that people can go find if they need to. If I were selling the seasonings, let me actually look at it on my computer while I'm talking about this thing. So, let me see. His website is the Amish Potato. Amish Potato. I think his name is CJ. I think his website is the AmishPotatoCompany.com. The AmishPotatoCompany.com. Now I'm looking it up on my slow internet. So I think he's even updated the website because it looks different. You can follow along with me on this if you want to. The AmishPotatoCompany.com. There's a picture of a horse and it says the Amish Potato Co. All it really has is a search button and a store. If I look down at the bottom, it looks like he's using Square to make this website. Okay, cool. He's got some cool stuff. Authentic goods, handcrafted by Amish families. Most popular. So he has a belt clip for impacted driver / drill and tape measure. The belt clip is leather with a I don't know if that's plastic or metal piece embedded into it that you hold onto your tool belt. You put it onto your tool belt. For the people who can't see it, $17.95. I've never seen that word. Sacroiliac belt. I guess that's for posture, I guess, when you're lifting and things. $80 made out of leather with a metal, what do you call that? Buckle. Original grilling sampler for $13.95. They have a sampler of 4 small bottles of their other types of 4 seasonings. So the 4 seasonings they have are, of the large bottles, are each $8.49. Ranch seasoning mix. There's a farm dust, Himalayan salt. They all say Weaver's Dutch Country Seasonings. So I think he's selling another Amish family's homemade seasonings. There's chicken dust seasoning, and there's steak dust seasoning, and they have these belts that are 1 1/4 inch genuine leather. Oh, sorry, these are dog collars. 1 1/4 genuine leather dog collar, ranging from $29.95 to $35.95. They have a 1 1/4 inch genuine leather belt of 4 different types of colors, ranging from $34.95 to $40.95. And they have a 1 1/2 inch leather belt of 4 colors, $36.95 to $42.95. And it depends what type of buckle, what type of color, and what type of size you get for your belt. Beautiful pictures. They're not selling too many products, but they have added some new products because the last time I saw this website, they only really had some of the seasonings and the collars and the belts, at least from what I remember. But let's talk about these seasonings again. So say if he wanted to sell these seasonings, you know, he could target, you know, people who cook. I mean, who else, right? Either people who cook, who post meals online specifically. Say, let's just pick one. Let's pick the chicken dust seasoning. He's got a picture of an outdoor grill, like a fire pit, where he's roasting on an outdoor, looks like a homemade kind of grill that's suspended up above like an outdoor fire pit, probably in the yard, because I see there's like a shed or something in the background, so it looks like it's in a yard, but zoomed in on the seasoning. And all the pictures are different. It's not stock footage. These are all actual pictures of the products. It's not, none of them look fake. Like, none of them look, yeah, it all looks like it. It's homemade pictures. Like whoever took these pictures took them individually per seasoning, kind of in the same background setting, but with a little variation. In the chicken dust seasoning, you can see a chicken that's not even fully cooked yet on the grill with an open fire in the pit. Really cool pictures. If I click on chicken dust, it tells me more information. So, same picture zoomed in. Very cool photos. It has photos of what the seasoning looks like when it's spilled out. And it has photos of the seasoning, what it looks like when it's completely like spilled out of the bottle. It tells you the description of the product, the ingredients, the weight, uses for chicken, even some tips of how to, you know, sprinkle what amount for how many hours if you're trying to like season it overnight or something. Really, really cool. Very good price too. $8.49 is not that much money. I don't know how much the shipping is. I don't know if there's free shipping or anything like that, but say if they even use flat rate, that's not going to ship in a pretty big or heavy box, and so it's probably not a lot of shipping. It's probably like $7-8 for shipping. So it's not like you're going to use all the seasoning in one day. So who would you target? You know, there are definitely companies on LinkedIn and Facebook. Those are the first places I would think. LinkedIn, Facebook, Pinterest. Assuming that maybe you can still post on Pinterest. Don't hold me to that, because I don't know, because I haven't posted anything on there in ages. But what I would do initially, if I had this website already and I had just one product that I was selling, which was this chicken dust, and I already was making YouTube videos, and I was just in the background talking about all this stuff and cooking and canning and, you know, how I like to grill. Maybe I make videos at my grill every now and then, and I'm just talking about my culture and people tune into it, and I'm just making videos because I like to make the videos, and now I have this product to sell. I would go looking through LinkedIn probably for small restaurants, for people. I would look for people also who do meal prep for other people who are hobbyists that like to review different types of products. I might even offer people who review products a free sample to promote it for me, maybe even on Instagram. For people who post pictures on Instagram, maybe some travel bloggers, I don't really know, maybe, that's like a maybe category. And I'd look at these people's LinkedIns, and I'd see, okay, these people have businesses. They sell services. Maybe they go into elderly people's houses and they cook. Maybe they have their own type of Meals on Wheels service. Maybe they do like a backyard barbecue type of side hustle where they sell barbecue. I don't know. I'm making this up, guys. Maybe they sell barbecue somehow. I would make a list of all these people, make a list of their URLs, their phone numbers, their emails, maybe how, like, what sites they're on. So, what are their socials? Are they only on LinkedIn? Do they have a main page? Do they sell their own products already? Do they review products? Do they show the products that they're using? Could they benefit from this product? Are they into the type of cooking that this product would be suitable for their type of chicken? If appropriate, maybe even vegan chefs. A lot of times, culture with, you know, vegan and vegetarian culture does kind of interact and overlap sometimes with the sustainability culture, which might be a good market for people who are selling Amish products, because there is that kind of overlap with like the self-sustaining lifestyle. Sometimes people like to support mom and pop groups. I wouldn't say don't go big, but I would say these would be the first places I'd look. I'd probably look locally, and you know, you can ship this stuff, and so, you know, you can look pretty much anywhere, in all honesty. But for people who cook, look for people who cook. And you know, there are plenty of people online who cook, who have websites online, who have a LinkedIn page that are trying to promote their cooking services. They might want to try a new seasoning. Now, again, unless this person's like mass cooking chicken, you know, and cooking like 20 chickens a week or something, they're probably not going to be purchasing this chicken dust seasoning like every single day or something like that, you know. They might purchase it every now and then when they run out. But, you know, also people who cook and review products, those would be good people to target. You'd probably find them on YouTube. And anybody who you could consider giving it away to for free. It would be out of your pocket, but it might be worth it if somebody else is saying, hey, go to the Amish Potato Company.com. This person sent me a free sample. I used it. It was good. Go buy it over there. Instagram theme pages and things like that. So that's how I would go about it. So that's just one example of how you could go about finding a list of people to contact. You'd want to get a lot of people who fit, you know, the buyer persona of who you're trying to actually talk to. I mean, you could just cast a net wide to like whoever the heck and see who bites. I mean, a lot of people cook. A lot of people are trying to cook healthier, trying to cook from home more at the beginning of the year. You could promote it that way, because it can be a seasonal type of sale. Summer as well, because people barbecue a lot in the summers. But that's kind of how I'd look at it. It's not the only method, but that's kind of one way to go about like thinking about, if you have a product, how would you promote it organically? I mean, it's you that's going by and sending these people messages. Say 5 times, you know, you create a spreadsheet that shows, you know, I contacted them by email twice, by Facebook once, and by LinkedIn twice. You know, you gotta have like a method to follow up. You can send your link. You can send, you know, something. You know, you gotta have something to say. Don't just like spam your link everywhere. But start a conversation. You know, reach out. And I mean, if you're reaching out to the right people, you know, you're usually going to get bites back. Now, if you get responses but no purchases from that process, you might want to figure out why. Start asking yourself, are the prices too high? Is it unhealthy? Is there something about it that's making it so people don't want to buy it when I know it's a good product and I'm reaching out to the right people? Why aren't the right people buying it from me? Maybe you haven't reached enough people. If you're not reaching about a competitive number of maybe 50 a day is maybe a lot at once, but build up to that. You know, you want to have at least 100 people contacted that you've gone through a whole cadence with. So maybe if it's 5 contacts each of various types of contacts, that's why you want various types of contact information. Maybe they never check their emails. Maybe they never check their LinkedIn. Maybe they never check their Facebook. So if you're only using one avenue to try to contact them, and then they're online in all these other places, and they're cooking, making chicken dishes, and they're posting it all over the internet, creating content every week, every month, you know they're on there. But maybe their DMs are too saturated. So yeah, you want to think about it that way. Reach people, communicate with people, keep track, be organized, you know. Use a CRM like HubSpot to keep track, or even an Excel sheet. Something where you can keep track of who you're talking to, how you're talking to them, what they responded, did they have any interest, did they respond at all. I have people reach out to me on LinkedIn all the time for like random stuff, and sometimes I do want to talk to them more. Sometimes I'm like, oh, like, yeah, like, tell me what it is that you have to say, and other times I'm just like, no, I'm not interested, you know. But a lot of times it's the right people. I'm the target person for them to reach, and we'll have a little back and forth. Usually, to me, what people are offering is either going to be too time consuming in a way that I'm like, I don't want to talk to this person on video chat like 3 times before I actually know what is going on. They're like, oh, can we set up a meeting and talk this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday? It's like, why do we need to talk that many times? Like, just tell me what you want, you know? Like, I'm busy. I don't want to be setting up Zooms and stuff. Like, so if it's an inconvenience, that makes me say no. If somebody asks me, sometimes it's just not a good fit. People ask me for stuff that, like, oh, like, I'm selling this lotion. Like, I don't want any. You know, I don't really care about your lotion. Like, I don't really care, you know? But then other times it's, like, something that's direct on, and they'll contact me, but then maybe their service is, like, way too expensive. You know, and I'm like, well, why would I pay you up front for that when you don't even have anything free that I can sample? You don't have any YouTube videos. You don't have a podcast. You don't have anything where I can see what you do, where I can see if I even like the method that you're talking about. You're not offering anything for free. You're not offering anything discounted. You know, say if it was someone who wanted to help me with fitness and they're like, pay me $100, you know, or $50 a week or something, and I'm like, dude, my gym membership isn't even that much a month. You know, why would I pay somebody $50 a week straight up, you know, to start? You know, like, give me like a free trial day, or give me like a free little ebook or something. Give me something, you know, for free. Don't just like start asking me for money. If I don't know who you are, I'm not gonna go $50 into my pocket right away without knowing, you know. Now, $50 is a steal. If $50 is a good price and a really good discounted price for what somebody's offering me, then I might be more willing to take that. But it's like, I don't really need a fitness trainer that's going to cost me $200 a month, you know. Even though that's a cheap rate, I don't need that. So that's about it for now. What I would say for your own testing, go on websites that you know and try to figure out, you know, or go on YouTube channels of people that you follow. See if they have a website, see if they're selling something, see how you would go about trying to find people to sell that and creating a plan around it and what that would look like. You don't have to like sell stuff for them. I'm just saying, what would it look like? If you can make an example for someone else, you can do it for yourself. And so that's kind of what I would say for now. We're still going to talk more about these related topics. There's still a lot more to say, but that's it for now. Thanks for listening.